CK.
Hi, Nadine.
How are you today?
I'm doing well. I just want to say thank you so much for having me on the podcast today. Fiercely blessed. I'm so excited to get into it. Thank you again.
Thank you so much for saying yes. I know you're busy. You are a New York Times journalist. You are a mother. You are an amazing daughter and friend. You have so much going on. And so for you to take the time out to be with me today really means the world. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I know I met you. We really got to know each other at our recent Support Your Girlfriend's trip in Barbados, and talking to you just felt natural and easy. You have this energy and aura about you that's so welcoming and sweet. Like there's this sweetness to you and it's authentic. I got to know you a little bit during this trip. And when I found out that you were a journalist for the New York Times with a focus on love, right?
Yes.
I thought that was so special. And I think that even in today's world where I feel this new generation is having a hard time finding love, I wanted to touch on that today. So before we touch on the love topic, when did you know you had a strong passion for writing? How was that identified?
Well, it's so funny that you should ask that because I have to thank my parents because just to give you a little background on myself, I am first generation American. My parents are Caribbean. My mom's from Trinidad and my dad is from Barbados. But, they moved here to the US when they were young. They were children and then they became educators. So I grew up in a house with two teachers. So while other children were going to school from like 8 a.m. to 3 p.m., school never stopped for me. When you have two educators in the house, it's like you go to school to learn and then you come home and you learn some more. So my parents, they really kind of drilled into me at an early age that you have to pick something that you love. And they just kept trying different things. Like my dad is an art teacher. So he had me doing painting and all type of sculptures at an early age, which I do enjoy. But my mom, even though she's a chemistry teacher, she loved writing and she bought me my first journal. And she said, whatever you have in your mind, I want you to put in this book. And no one will ever have to read it. But if you enjoy it, I'll get you more. And that turned into like an obsession. Like my mom reminds me that I filled the first year that she gave me a journal, I filled 6 journals full of just my thoughts, just writing and sharing.
How old were you?
I was about, I want to say 12. So I had like this, I just had moved to Long Island from Brooklyn. So in my mind, I was having this complicated like journey, identity crisis, going from a Brooklyn girl to a suburban girl. So I had a lot to write about. But that's when I became passionate about it because I felt like it came easy for me to express myself through writing, so much so that I would write to my parents when they weren't understanding me. I'd be like, you know what? I'll just write it down. I'll send you guys a letter. So that it really helped me in my communication at an early age to figure out what made sense for me. But I loved writing. And then in junior high school, I was a part of the newspaper club. I went to journalism school at Howard University. Shout out to any Bison who are listening. And then I started at the New York Times right out of college. So my trajectory, it literally was planted. The seed was planted by my mother, who said, hey, if you like this, keep going. And I kept going.
CK, that is so amazing. I felt like I was like totally on your life journey with you as you were talking. I could like envision everything. That is so powerful, how planting the seed at 12 to get you writing and how you knew to use it, even when you had a hard time getting through to your parents, like using that tool. And look where you are today, a writer in the New York Times. That is so big.
Yes,
congratulations
so
on all the success.
It's so funny when I think about it. So now I'm the editor of the wedding section, which you mentioned, and my business, I've been known to be a professional romantic. So I get to talk about love all day. But when I think about my journey, I feel like I've always been rooted in love. I come from a very loving home. And I was always a little bit obsessed with romance, even from a young age, because as well as writing, I was always reading. That was the other thing. So there was no
Yes.
TV in my house growing up after a certain time. So
Uh-huh.
we probably had about 2 hours of TV a day, and then it was hit the books. But my parents always gave us the opportunity to read for leisure. So I was reading these like young romance books
Oh
about,
my.
teenagers falling in love and meeting at the
Uh-huh.
locker and all types of things. So I just became like entrenched in this world of romance from a very young age as well. Even though I was a late bloomer, I didn't date at all in my teens. I was just like, oh, this is so romantic. And it always ends with them going to college and falling in love and then eventually getting married. Another little tidbit about how I got into the wedding space at a
Yes,
young age is that my
please.
dad was a wedding photographer. So it's all kind of like full circle. I would be around my father preparing for weddings. He would come home back in the day when it was all like prints. So he would come home and touch up the prints by hand using like a little paint pad. So there was no like, Photoshop or anything like that back in the day. So my dad would pass me the photos to fan after he applied the paint. And I would see these beautiful brides in these white
Wow.
gowns, the 80s with these
Uh-huh.
over the top veils. So I think it's just always been around me. And it's so funny how when I look back, it's
hmm
always been this path for me to be in a space surrounded by love and writing about love and helping other people write about love.
Oh, I feel like they could write a book or do a movie on your life. So beautiful. But on the topic of love, right?
Yes.
Especially in today's generation, again, I have the privilege of employing a younger generation. And I hear their stories and sometimes my heart hurts for them because at the end of the day, we all need love, not just from our parents and our family, but as women, we're designed to have that love, to have the husband, have our helpmate, right?
Yeah.
And do life together. It was designed that way. And so when I hear their struggles of like finding love, it truly breaks my heart. So being in the space that you're in, do you have any advice or what advice would you give this young generation who is desperately seeking love?
Yeah.
What would you say to them?
Well, it's so funny because I read love stories all day. So people submit their stories to me, which is why I believe in love so strongly. Because
Mm.
every week we have couples that are getting married. Every week we have people who are falling in love. So the rhetoric that there's nobody out there, there's no love for me, I think we need to kind of first change your mind about love. What I've been hearing from the younger girls is they're saying that the dating pool has pee in it. And I'm like, no, I don't want to hear any of that. What do you expect if you put that out there? That's
hmm
what you'll get back. Change the language. Like, I know there's someone out there for me. I know
Yes.
that I was created for partnership. I know that I am worthy of love. I am worthy of giving and receiving love. I'm really big on affirmations because
hmm
I feel like what you speak and what you think is what comes to pass. Like, that is the
Yes.
life that you create. And our
Yes.
like, younger generation, honestly, focus on loving yourself first because I am a little bit of an OG. I've been married for 6 years now, so I feel like I can finally
Uh-huh.
give some marriage advice and relationship advice. I've been with my husband for 10 years, and I feel like everyone I dated before him didn't make sense because I did not truly understand what it meant to love myself.
That's
The
so
minute
good.
that flip was switched and I realized the reason why the relationships were failing was because I was requesting things from my partner that I wasn't giving to myself. So that was like a big light bulb moment for me when I said to myself, I want someone to be patient with me, but yet I'm rushing all the time. I'm not patient with
Ooh.
myself. I want someone to be kind, but yet the self talk that I talk to myself where I'm like, oh, you did that again. You did that wrong. Why did you show up that way? I wanted someone to be consistent. And I'm not consistent with myself. I wasn't working out when I said I would. I wasn't keeping promises to myself. So when I really sat back and I was just like, wait a minute, I cannot require these things of a partner until I do these things for myself and truly deeply love myself in the
Mm.
way that I would want someone else to love me. That was the key. That was the thing that broke all of the bad dating choices. That was the thing that
Yes.
opened up the dating pool for me in a broader way because even the people that I was attracting, they were attracted to my brokenness. at the time. So there was things that I didn't heal from. I didn't have identity that I had for myself was
Right.
skewed because I thought I loved myself. I looked good, but
Mm-hmm.
then the self-talk wasn't there. The doubt that I was feeling constantly about myself, the imposter syndrome. So all of that shows up in your dating and relationship life. If you're struggling with those things, you're going to attract people who are going to bring those things, amplify those things, or you're going to attract someone who may take advantage of
Yes.
those things.
Wow. That is such powerful advice. Like, hearing it from that perspective, and it's so true. We need to, you always hear you got to love yourself, and it's like, but how, in a sense? And it's what you mentioned is starting with that, being patient, being kind, all those great attributes that you want. It's like you have to learn how to be that for yourself first.
Yes. And you know what? I heard something. I recently went to a conference and I heard one of the men say, ask the audience, would you date yourself? And I
Mm.
heard like the audience was like shocked, like, oh my God, like can you? But when you really start to think about it, like if someone showed up in the identical way that you show up, would you be attracted to that person? Or would you be like, no, they're always late, they're not consistent, they don't call back when they said that they would, they don't show up for themselves, they don't eat right, all those things. Then you'll be like, wait a
Mm-hmm.
minute, I probably, if I broke it down, I
Mm-hmm.
probably wouldn't date myself. And if it's just about looks for you, you're like, yeah, look good, I date me. But you
Right,
got to go a
right.
little deeper,
Mm-hmm.
because as you know, in a marriage, things change.
Yes.
As you go deeper in your relationship, it's the intangibles that keep you strong in your
So
relationship.
good.
So it's, does this person have integrity? Is this person God fearing? Does this person show up for others? Of course we want someone attractive, but it's the intangibles that keep the relationship going and what will give you a long lasting love.
That is so good. And a question just came to mind because I love how you said it's the intangible things and it's the looking into the heart really of the person. But
Mhm.
I think when we're younger, or even this generation, from what I'm hearing and seeing, the materialistic things matter so much that I feel sometimes there's a missed opportunity. So for instance, the guy seems great, comes from a good family, whatever the case is, may not have the best job right now, right? Or he doesn't have a car. And I remember I had that mentality too when I was, in my late teens, early 20s. It was like, I don't want no scrub. And then TLC
Yes.
came out with that song. That was every woman's anthem, right? But then it's like, wow, that person might be, his heart might be so solid. He might be such a great man. He may not
Mhm.
have these things now, but what if you grew together and you can have an abundant life, but you miss those opportunities because it's, that mindset of like the materialistic things in life is first thing they're thinking about.
I agree. And I feel bad for this generation because social media has made it so hard for the younger people to be authentic. They have to put on and in every aspect of their life. So when you think about it, it's like, no one back in the day saw us when we left the salon with our heads wrapped and everything. We
Yes.
didn't have no makeup on. We were able to be free.
Yes.
Now you see from the hair salon, you got the camera, you got to
So
look good. You have to have your
true.
face beat at all times. The materialistic aspect that's happening for our younger generation is it starts with them. So they want to present themselves a certain way. So they want somebody else who always is Instagram ready, who's coming with the flowers, the
Yes.
gifts. They want to fly to Greece and all this kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, it's so powerful to grow with someone. And I had that mentality too. So I'm not, I was like, I want somebody on my level. First of all,
Yes.
here's the thing, you do not have to decrease your standards to find the right person.
Oh,
It's
this is
all
good.
about
This is good.
knowing someone's motivation. So if someone is really motivated, yet they're not where they want to be yet, they will do things now that will show you that in sometime they will get to where they need to be. So if they don't have the car yet, but they are saving, they're working on their credit, they are working multiple jobs, they're a hard worker, then you know this is somebody that's not sitting on the couch, that's playing video games
Right.
and waiting for a check. Like there's certain characteristics that you can see now for someone who is going to go far in the distance when they get the opportunity. If I was younger and I had to talk to my younger self, I would
Mm-hmm.
say, stop looking for the thing that's shiny. Because guess what? All that glitters is not gold. You'll see that you'll get the man who has it all together, but he'll be mean to you sometimes. Let me not,
Yes.
generalize, but he may not be a nice person. He may not be good
Right.
to his family. He may not be a family person
Right.
at all. You know what I mean? So the things that matter to you will be on the back burner, and he may not accept you in your raw state. You want someone
Mm.
that you can let your hair down with, someone that you can be your most authentic self with, and not someone who just wants the Instagrammable version of you, which means you may have to, look beyond the current state, not lower your
Yes.
standards. Find a strong partner who has really foundational pillars in their lives where they believe in doing the right thing. They are good to their family. They're good to strangers. Like, they're not just bad people walking around. You know what I
Right.
mean? They have a strong foundation in their belief system. That's how you get to really figuring out who somebody is. And then
Yes.
guess what? As a woman, let me tell you, he who finds a wife finds a good thing. My husband will tell you this all the time. His life, his trajectory and his career and his life exploded when we got together. God
Mm-hmm.
has a way of giving you what you didn't get when you're supposed to get it, when it makes sense for your bigger life plan. So you may say, okay, I got with the guy who doesn't have a great job, but your motivation, your ability to show up, to keep him inspired can spark something in him, and he'll be a millionaire in the next year. You don't know like what that coming together, because
Yes.
two is better than one. You don't know what that coming together can create. So don't count him out just yet. Always do your homework, ladies. Do your homework and, see beyond the job, the car, all of those things and go to the heart, like you said, Nadine.
That was so solid. I cannot wait for this to air. They need to hear it. And there is hope. And you bring that hope by even receiving these stories on a daily basis. What would you say about marriage today? We're both married. I just
Yeah.
celebrated 10 years with a vow renewal back in June. And
Oh,
we're,
that.
yay, we're constantly growing. We're constantly learning. We're constantly practicing patience and being kind. We get it wrong sometimes, right?
Yeah.
The divorce rate is super high right now, even amongst Christianity, which is crazy to me. What advice what advice do you have for married couples who might even just be facing those difficult moments from the stories that you get or even from life experience? What's that encouragement to not throw in the towel, to
Oh,
continue on that growth journey, no matter how hard it gets?
honestly, I've been disheartened by what I've seen in the media. We're even covering a story here at the Times about the summer of uncoupling among celebrities. Like we've never seen so many people get divorced this year. And I
Wow.
think the root of it is that a lot of us, and I'll speak for myself, I grew up in a two-parent household where my parents were married, but a lot of other people did not see what a happy, healthy marriage looks like. So a lot of people
Yeah.
are coming in feeling like they're at a deficit because they don't have that visual for what it looks like to maintain something long term. And I think
Yeah.
we also have a very fairy tale version about what marriage is. And that in my first year of marriage, I was like mind blown. I was like, wait, this is not what I expected because it is work. And I think people set it up when we hear, oh, marriage is work, you automatically have a negative connotation.
Yeah.
But
Right. Right. Right.
if we are honest with ourselves, any relationship we're in
That's
requires
right.
some type of action. So from your friendships, you have to show up, you have to be supportive, you have to check in. Your relationships at work, you have to make sure that there's constant communication between you and your boss.
Yes.
So it's no different with your partner. I would say the work that you have to do should be to work like be happy about it. Be
Yeah.
full of joy to work on your marriage and not see it as something negative. I think a lot of people go into marriage feeling like, I don't know, I don't have the tools. Get the help.
Right.
I am a big fan of couples counseling. And let me tell you why. It's because no one teaches us how to communicate with a significant others. We
Mm-hmm.
learn as children how not to be disruptive,
Right.
how to communicate kindly in certain settings, how to be quiet in the library. We learn that type of communication, but we don't know how to say the things that are on our hearts in a way that the other person can receive it. And that is what counseling and therapy will help you do. It will give you the tools. That is the reason why I feel like people just give up, because they don't have the tools. And at the
Mm-hmm.
first sign of problems, the easiest thing to do is retreat. Like, oh
Right.
my God, he doesn't understand me. I'm married a stranger. And no, that's not it. Like you said, we're constantly evolving. Like, who I was when I got married 6 years ago is not who I am now. And it's important for partners to evolve together. And in order to do that successfully, there has to be communication. There has to be a conversation about, where are we going together? Where are we going as individuals? How can we support each other? What does a happy, healthy relationship look for us now that we have a 1-year-old son? Oh my God, it's
Mm-hmm.
completely different than when we were single and, like, dating, and it was very sexy. Right now, it's a bit, I had to pick oatmeal out of my hair this morning. It's a totally different thing. So I think partners, we have to talk about, what does it look like to evolve together, so that we're
Mm-hmm.
not stunned when things start to change and things start to be different. And you're going to have those ebbs and flows in a marriage. There's a season
Right.
where it's really sexy, it's really hot, and then it gets where and there's a season where you got to work through some things, and then it gets back to being sexy, and then it gets back to not being. It's the ebb and flow of it. So you have to make it through the ups and downs in order to get to the prize at the end, where you're just saying, like, listen, we made it. Like, look at us. I think when you're in the valley of your marriage, when things are looking dark, you're facing a trial and tribulation. And for us, and I'll speak candidly about this. My husband and I, we faced trials very early on in our relationship. The day that I got engaged, my father passed away. So
Mm.
we were hit with, for better or for worse, from the jump.
Mm.
Like, we were just thrown into the depths of grief the year before we got married. And then during the planning of our wedding, my husband's mother got sick. So it was just a back to back whammy for us. And
Mm.
both of us was like, is this a sign? Like, what's going
Yeah.
on? It felt like our worlds were crumbling. And I always tell people that faith is my superpower, because marriage is a threefold cord. It's you, your partner, and God at the center. And if you designate your marriage in that way, you will find the strength when you personally do not have it. There will be times where you literally are at ropes and you do not have an anchor anywhere else, that you have to go to your spiritual source. And I think that that's been one of the tools that has saved my marriage from the very beginning, from the very early stages. We had to just go beyond ourselves. And I think that that's what people need to do. Like, marriage was not meant to be done in a vacuum. So a lot of people are
Mm.
in their marriage with no support.
Mm-hmm.
So they don't have family support, they don't have friend support, they don't have spiritual support. That's not how marriage was designed. You need it, just like it takes a village to raise a child. I always say it takes a village to have a happy marriage. You need someone that you're able
Oh,
to go
good.
to say, am I tripping? Can you keep me accountable? Can you tell me, someone who's
Yes.
always going to point you back in the direction of staying together, if the relationship, and I have to preface this, if the
Yes.
relationship is healthy?
Healthy.
Because
Mm-hmm.
there are instances where divorce is the best option, because you're being abused,
100%.
you're in a toxic situation, there's constant chaos, it's bad for your health. That's not what we're talking about. I want to make it
Exactly.
very clear.
Yes.
We're
Thank you
talking about
for.
happy, steady relationships in healthy environments. In those
Mm-hmm.
cases, we're human. We're going to go through ups and downs. And if you have a partner, you're going to make it through even better, because you have that. You need someone to hold on to in those moments. When my father passed away, I was just like, God, you couldn't have done it at a worse but better time, because you knew that
Right.
I wouldn't be alone. You gave me
Right.
somebody that would support
Oh,
me through the hardest moments of my life. And it's been that ever since. But the divorce, people want an exit out of everything. Like, there's something called quiet quitting, where you don't quite say that you're about to leave your job, but you know that you're
Right,
planning
right.
to. Instead of being vocal about what you're unhappy about, you just silently kind of like, escape your job. The same thing happens
Right.
in marriage. A lot of people don't speak up. They don't say what they want. They don't say
Mm-hmm.
what's going bad. They don't say what's going good. They just
Right, right.
exist. And then they get to the breaking point and then they're like, 10 years of what I've been going through in one conversation, and then it's over. So I advise couples to speak often and speak freely. Create that safe space where you can say, listen, this is not working for me anymore. I love you. I love us, but some things need to change. And if we don't
Yes.
have the tools, let's get them.
That is so powerful. Oh, you touched on everything in terms of the nitty-gritty of the marriage, right? And I love how you emphasize this is not about the unhealthy marriage, but 100% we need support. And
Yeah.
counseling is not a negative thing. If
Yeah.
anything, counseling, date nights at a counselor is healthy and it's needed and it's inspiring because we learn new things, we learn new tools to navigate because it's not easy. And you're sharing life with someone, it changes constantly, and then you throw kids into the mix. But I think
Mm-hmm.
ultimately, it's like you said, there's three of us in here, and it's the spouse and then God, the spouses and then God. And that spiritual source is key because it brings the hope, it brings the faith to keep pushing through those hard times. So that was such valuable advice. I really appreciate also your honesty and vulnerability in sharing your story. So thank you so
Sure.
much. I'm
You
going
make
to
it
ask
so
what
easy to share, Nadine. I'm like, wait a minute, hold on. I was like,
you're
I
like, I don't have
gotta,
to
I
go
gotta
back to
remember,
work.
it's
We
not
could
just
do
us.
this. You're so cute. But I always love to ask this question. It'll be the last one. But how are you fiercely blessed?
Oh my gosh, I am fiercely blessed because I am surrounded by an abundance of love and joy. My life is not perfect by any means, but I
Mm-hmm.
wake up every morning and I look around and I'm living in an answered prayer. Every
Yes.
single thing that I'm experiencing now is something that I had prayed about and that I am living in now. So I just feel incredibly and fiercely blessed to be the recipient of this
Mm,
life, which is only getting better and better because I'm making it that way. I'm
that's right.
declaring it that. And I am just grateful that God has kept me through the ups and down seasons. And I'm just so excited for what's next.
Oh, CK, that was so awesome. It was so refreshing and enlightening being on with you today. I really appreciate your time again. All your advice, it's so valuable. I know we're going to get great feedback off of this because it's such a strong topic and one that matters greatly. We all deserve love. We should all have love. Period. Right? So
I
thank you
agree,
so much.
period.
Period.
Thank you so
Yeah.
much for having me. This was so
Yes.
fun. Thank
Thank
you.
you. I love you. Thank you so much, my friend.
And I love you too, my glossy posse sister.
Yes.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, you're awesome. Have a great rest of your day.
Okay, thank you.